Hey everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Upcycled Adulting. My name is Cassie Feld, and I am here to help you upcycle your real life into your best life by teaching you simple principles and tips and helping you change your mindset to create healthy habits, overcome obstacles, and grow to accomplish your goals. And today we're talking about the big bad, the number one stressor, especially for women, which is domestic load. How we manage our homes. And whether you're a stay-at-home mom, a working mom, or you are a single woman living on your own, you have surely experienced the pressure and strain and stress of managing your house and what it should look like and what it should be like and how clean it should be and all the things you should be doing. And it is absolutely exhausting. It is a thankless job. And we generally feel so overwhelmed, and at the same time, like we're getting absolutely nowhere with these home tasks. So today I want to talk about how do we de-stress that? How do we tear that down so that we can feel successful in managing our homes? And by the way, if you're not a woman, this is for you too if you stress about your home management. However, women, their whole lives, tend to be indoctrinated into this idea that the appearance of their home or caring for their families are absolute essential indicators of whether or not they are worthy or they're doing enough or they're good enough. And we internalize those ideas to the point where we end up being just exhausted, overwhelmed, frustrated, and spend honestly a lot of our time feeling resentful and feeling like failures. And this is so overwhelming and so pervasive in our lives. So I want to talk about how we unravel some of this, because caring for a home, that is the hamster wheel. It's never done. It's never perfect. It never feels like enough, right? And then at the same time, we're fielding judgment from other people, or we feel like other people are judging us, and we judge ourselves and we feel constantly inadequate. So let's get started with these 5 tips to help you reduce your home stress. Now, please know that I'm not suggesting you start with all 5. Actually, number 5 is the one I would probably start with first, because I think it will give you the best payoff in the shortest route, right? But I think that these are all really important factors in how we can de-stress this part of our lives. Number 1, and this is a big one, is stop shoulding. So much of what we do in our homes, we do because we believe we should. We don't even necessarily think about it. When we do our home tasks, when we're doing our cleaning, when we're doing our cooking, our home management of any kind, oftentimes what we're doing is things that we have internalized as shoulds, things we saw our mothers do or our grandmothers do, things we see on Instagram, things that we interpret as this is the way to take care of a home, right? This is the right way. And so often we're doing things that we don't really even care about, that don't move the needle, that don't make a difference for us, that we don't need to or want to do. We're doing them because that's what we feel like we're supposed to do. Taking the time to step back and actually evaluate all the different various things you're doing in your home to figure out whether or not you want to or need to do them, whether or not those things matter to you. Maybe they do matter, but it doesn't matter to you to do them more frequently. Thinking about that will help you clear some of the things off of your list, or at least create longer durations between when you do them. This in and of itself will reduce your overwhelm and your stress level. In addition, it will give you more time to do the things that you really want to do. One of the things I like to think about when I'm trying to stop shoulding is what I could be using with that time and energy, and whether or not what I'm doing right now matters more. So one of the things that I actually like to point to as a home task is washing the bathtub. Now, some of you are scrubbing your tub every single week. But if no one takes a bath, everyone in your house showers, right? Your plumbing works fine, your tub doesn't back up. Scrubbing your bathtub every single week probably actually isn't necessary. You could be spraying it down and letting it sit while you clean the rest of the bathroom and rinsing it out. You probably don't need to wash your walls floor to ceiling. Maybe just walking around with a damp cloth and wiping fingerprints off of doors and door jambs and things like that would be plenty, right? High traffic areas. Maybe that's plenty. Really stopping for a moment and thinking, is it more important to me to scrub my bathtub every single week? Or is it more important to me to have coffee with my friend, to get some extra sleep, to be able to commit some time to a work project without feeling like I'm constantly behind at home? Would it be more important to me to go on a date night with my husband or for a walk with my husband or to play a board game with my kids? Really getting clear about the fact that you're not getting more time in your day to do all this stuff and how you allocate that time matters. So if you're scrubbing that tub because you think you should, because it's part of the routine your mom always did, because you believe that that is essential. And while I'm standing here saying this, you're all cringing, right? Then maybe rethink that if that's not really important to you. Now, if you're in Inner Circle, you have already seen the Take Control of Your Home course that's available there and workbook. And we walk through in detail, working through this shoulding thing, identifying the things that we need to do that are essential, that are preferred, and that are desired. And how do we define what those things are? And how do we schedule those things? And how do we make that work? So that you can create clarity and be assured that the things you're doing are the things that matter most to you, not the things you feel like you should do. Because again, this can be a hard one to recognize. Sometimes we're not saying, I should do that. That's why I'm doing it. We actually truly have internalized the belief that we need to do that because we maybe grew up in a home where that was done. And before we get down further into this, I do want to mention that it's important to recognize that the things that we saw done in our homes were at a very different time with very different social expectations, with very different demands on the time. And a lot of times, women, as we went out into the workforce, we did not relinquish household responsibilities in the ways that really needed to happen. You cannot do all of the work at home. And you cannot do that while you're working and while you're running kids to activities and while you're volunteering at your kids' school and while you're helping your kids with their hour of homework every night and all of those things that have now piled up. And so that means you too, stay at home moms, you carrying all of this alone is absolutely not a reasonable expectation with the demands on modern life. All right. So we can see that this just cannot happen. We can't do all the things we think we should do because that's what our moms did, or that's what our grandmas did, or that's what the lady on Instagram is doing. All right. And just so you know, as a note on that, the people on Instagram who are doing all of that are doing it as part of their job. That's actually part of their job. So let yourself off the hook there. Number 2 is pitch perfection. Okay, number 2 and number 3 really go on this concept that I want to share with you right now. And maybe you should just pause here, grab a post-it, and write this down to remind yourself of this all the time because so many of us are forgetting it. Not everything you do in life has to be done with your best effort. Not everything we do in life needs to be done with our best effort. I know that there are different philosophies about this. I was raised, if it's worth doing right. I was raised that you always put your best effort into everything. However, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. Not everything requires your best effort. It doesn't have to be as good as you can get it. It needs to be as good as you can deal with. Okay. And that's why I say the thing about the example with the tub. If you spray your tub down with all purpose cleaner and you go about, cleaning the rest of your bathroom and then you rinse it out, your tub's going to be pretty darn clean. It's not going to be perfect, but it will be pretty darn clean. You don't have to give your best effort to having a spotless tub every week. That's exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. So please let yourself off the hook on that. Now, I know some of you are probably sticking on this, right? This is hard to let go of. This idea that our home should be perfect and everything should be done and everything should be in its place, right? Everything should have a place and be in its place. These ideas are absolutely so common. Okay. Most people have some version of this, and they're such a heavy, heavy burden. And I want to give you this example because I think that you'll relate a little bit more to this. When my kids, all of my kids are grown now, they're all college age. When my kids were in middle school and high school, in particular, and especially high school, and they had finals, all right? If they had a 98% in a class, and no matter what they did, they could fail the final, they could get a big fat zero on the final, okay? They would still get an A in that class. They would still maintain that A, okay? Or that B, whatever it was, they would maintain it. It didn't matter. So sometimes my kids would have a B, and even if they got 100% on the final, it wouldn't bring their grade up to an A, right? We taught our kids, by the way, how to do this math so they would know. All right. Then we would say, why spend the time studying for that final? Some of you teachers out there, I know right now you are like freaking out, but why would you spend the time studying for that final instead of studying for the final in the class where you have an 89%? And if you get a 95 on the final, you'll bring your grade up. Or conversely, you have a 90% in the class, and if you don't nail the final, if you don't do well on the final, your grade will drop. We only have so much time and so much energy, right? Would you tell your child, and I know you may say, I would tell them to study really hard for all of the tests so that they can do their best on every test. But here's the reality. There's only so much time in the day. There's only so much time in the day. It's very important also that your child is well rested for that test. It's important that they have family time. It's important that they have downtime so that they're not anxious and creating test anxiety, which is going to make everything way worse, right? So if you're saying you have 10 hours to study, you can either study for the class, the grade on the test will not impact your grade or your performance in grades, right? Which in high school, this is very important for college applications or for wherever you want to go next. Okay, this is a big deal for your permanent high school record for college. All right, so you can study for that test, or you can study for the test where it will impact your grade, what you get on that final. Which would you tell them to do? Obviously, you would tell them study for the class where your final will be impacted. See, we have this idea of perfection. We have this idea that our kids should study for all the tests very hard so that they get as good of a grade as possible, so they do their best on every single final, so that they get as close to perfection as they possibly can. But here's the problem. There's not enough time or energy to do that. That's not realistic. That doesn't work in your real life. There are other factors going on in your real life. So understanding that something's got to give, right? And we need to make a decision about what it is. Your home will never be perfect. Something's got to give. If you want your home to be a comfortable space for you and your family, if you want it to be okay that your child spilled their cup all over the table, you want it to be okay for your kids to do crafts or to finger paint, you want those things to be okay, it's very important that you pitch perfection. Because your home will never be perfect. Your home can be lived in or it can be a museum, but it cannot be both. It cannot be both. All right. So we need to give up the idea that our home's going to be perfect, that we're going to get the whole house clean. It's going to look amazing. It's going to stay clean, because the reality is there's too much to do. You'll get the whole house clean, and then you'll notice, fingerprints on the door jamb, right? And can you let that go so that you can hang out and have dinner with your family? Can you let that go so that you can play a game with your kids? Can you let that go so you can go to bed tonight? And getting to a space where we can let go of perfect and we can let go of it has to be my best effort matters. And that leads me to number 3, which is keep it simple. A lot of us have created really complex, time-consuming cleaning routines, right? Very complex cleaning routines in which, again, we scrub that tub every single time, every single week. Every time we clean the bathroom, we scrub the tub. Rather than focusing on these big projects, right? Or having many, many cleaning supplies, what we can do to help us keep it simple is keep our cleaning supplies where we need them, right? Make those cleaning supplies very simple. Vinegar and water can be used on almost anything. It cannot be used on wood or natural stone, but almost anything else. Vinegar, water, a little Dawn dish soap. You can clean anything with that, right? Keep it simple. Keep the supplies simple. Keep the location of the supplies simple. And keep the routine simple. Make it as easy as possible. Let's not overcomplicate this. Let's make this really easy. That way, you can wipe everything down in the bathroom while the kids are taking a bath, and you don't have to run all over the house to get things. You don't have to have a designated cleaning day for the whole house. You maybe have one day a week that you do a little deeper clean, and it only takes an hour or two. Keep it simple. Think to yourself, how can I simplify the things I need to do or want to do to maintain my home? Number 4, and this is a big one, and listen, some of y'all stay-at-home moms are going to want to fast forward through this. Do not do that. Number 4 is share the load. Every single person who lives in your house can help. Essentially, if they're over the age of 2 or 3, I would get them started with helping, even though it may take you more time when they're young so that they're used to it. But every person in your house can help. And if you're single and you live alone, it's okay to share the load with outside people, meaning to hire someone to help with some of these tasks. It's completely fine. A lot of times in various seasons of our lives, we need that. I was just talking to a client earlier who is dealing with a health issue and lives alone and hired someone to come and do a few small cleaning tasks in the home. Now, the only thing I will say about sharing the load as far as hiring a housekeeper is please know that hiring a housekeeper is an expense and that domestic workers do deserve to be paid, compensated appropriately for their work. All right. So this is not going to be a small investment. And please also be mindful of the fact that domestic work, when it is done well and it is done by a professional, generally has a relatively high hourly rate. You, however, are thinking that the domestic work you do is worth nothing. Big mistake. That's a very big mistake. So, and I say that in part for stay-at-home moms who are there all day, who are doing the heavy lifting with the cleaning and the cooking constantly. Now, I know that working moms do this too. When you're home all day with children, the mess of lunch, of breakfast, of snacks, of kid toys, of crafts, of it is just a different thing, right? It's just different. It's not better or worse. It's different. And the constant cleaning up and feeling like you're getting nowhere is exhausting. The lack of adult contact is exhausting. Understanding that your job is not 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, while your partner's job is 8 or 10 hours a day, 5 days a week is important. It really is important. There is value in the work that you do. I was just talking about some people who live in my community, and the husband stays at home, the wife works, the wife has accomplished amazing, incredible things in her career. And I was talking about how part of how she has done that and done it so young with children is because the domestic load is carried by her husband. Profoundly. He carries the vast majority of that load as a stay-at-home parent, and that allows her to work late. That allows her to put in more time at work, she never has to be sick from work. She never has to leave work, things like that. And so I think it's important to understand that particular contribution. It's still okay to share the load, even when you are a stay-at-home parent. Okay. Everyone deserves to share the load, and everyone who lives in your home should be contributing to it. Everyone should be contributing to it. If you can hire help, do it. Do it. There's nothing wrong with it. But at the very least, every single person in your house has certain responsibilities to help manage the home. Because women are predominantly indoctrinated with the idea that their value and worth is attached to their appearance of their home, women tend to notice what needs to be done in the home more. So if you are in a cis-het relationship and you are a woman, there's a possibility that your partner doesn't even notice it. And yes, I know that's frustrating because I happen to be in that kind of relationship. I understand it's frustrating. I understand that in your brain you're thinking, what, are they a child? How do they not see that? They don't place the same personal value. They don't have the same indoctrination. And so it can be very helpful. And I'm going to do a whole video that's about nothing but share the load. But I want to leave you with this for right now. It's incredibly beneficial to actually have things that are just assigned. This is your job. It's your job to see it. It's your job to deal with it. It's your job to do it X, A to Z. One of the things that can really help with this is the book and card game Fair Play, because it will help keep you from having to figure out what all those things are, and it will help you let go of some of that mental load. And when anybody in your house holds one of those cards, it's theirs to hold. It's not yours to hold or to supervise. So the one piece I will give you here before we get into this in detail is be very mindful of which cards you have, because if your partner is supposed to do the dishes and it will drive you bonkers and you will do it, if they don't, that might not be something that you want to hand off, right? Because the things you hand off, you want to be like, they can do it and I can let that go entirely. Number 5, and this is the one I think is most important, and the best place and most important place to start is to celebrate your wins. One of the reasons why it's so stressful, domestic work is so stressful, it's so exhausting, and it's so demoralizing in a lot of ways, is because it's so unappreciated. It is so overlooked, right? Nobody notices that you vacuumed the rug. No one is grateful for it. There are no trophies or awards. There are no paychecks even for it. There is nothing. As we talk about things like how workers are treated, right, in the workplace, and the place where workers, the people doing the work, are most overlooked or most poorly treated is domestic work. And so it's very, especially unpaid domestic labor. It's important to recognize that even if your house isn't perfectly clean, even if you did all the laundry today, but as soon as everybody got ready for bed, you have a whole nother load of laundry, so you never feel like it's done, that you did in fact accomplish something. Keep an accomplishment journal. Make sure that you write a to-do list. There's a million things we do throughout the day in our homes, and we don't see them. We don't even acknowledge them. And at the end of the day, you're like, why didn't I get more done? Well, it's because you were cleaning up the sticky jelly on the counters. It's because you were mopping up the spilled milk or the water from your dog's water bowl. These are all things that we do, and we never acknowledge them. If they didn't get done, we would certainly notice it, but we don't acknowledge them when they do get done. We don't take pride in that accomplishment. And when people say take pride in your home, they generally mean keep a spotless home. I'm saying take pride in the work that you have done, even and especially when your home is not spotless, is not clean even. Taking pride in the fact that you have made dinner and you all ate, and so what that there's a pile of dishes in the sink, everybody got dinner, everybody got fed. That's something to be proud of. That is an accomplishment. I understand when you're looking at the pile of dishes, you may not feel that way, but it is. And we have to start recognizing that for ourselves and for the people in our homes. Everyone needs to express more gratitude, more appreciation, and celebrate the progress that's being made, because the truth is, managing a home is all progress. There is never a finish line. It's progress. And so simply acknowledging that matters. And in addition to that, I highly recommend that you set up things that you do for yourself as rewards for this, right? Very often we don't want to invest in new cleaning cloths, or we don't want to invest in that little scrubber brush that's automatic. You know, the one that turns on? Somebody on Instagram has one of those. And I'm like, ooh, that looks awesome for scrubbing out the bathtub. And we don't want to invest in that. But investing in that is a great way to celebrate your wins. It's a great way to keep your work simple. It's a great way to do it. The funniest thing is, as soon as my husband started taking over tasks in our house, okay, as in domestic tasks, we started accumulating more and more and better domestic products. I would never buy that vacuum mop combo. But as soon as my husband started vacuuming and mopping, he was like, ooh, we should get that. right? Because it'll make the job easier. He wouldn't have cared if I got it. I just would never think to do that. I never thought to support myself in that way. I never thought to give myself those kinds of things. If you just scrubbed out your bathtub, take a bath in it. Be the first person to take a bath in that nice, fabulously clean bathtub. You do it, right? You do it. It's really important that we find ways to celebrate our wins. That matters. That helps us stay motivated. That helps us feel successful. And y'all, back to point one, it reminds us that even though our homes are not perfect, even though our homes might not even be slightly tidy, even remotely tidy, okay, that we still have innate value. Our value is not tied up in how productive we are, how clean our house is, how much money we have in the bank account, how thin we are. Our value is within us, not outside of us. Celebrating your wins helps you remember that you have innate value. You deserve to be proud of yourself. You deserve to be recognized and to feel good about the progress you've made, even on the very unproductive days, even when the house is a mess. You fed yourself, you kept tiny humans alive, you deserve to be celebrated. So, do not forget to subscribe, because I am going to be talking extensively about household stress and stress in general to help you de-stress your life so you can make room for the things that matter most to you. Also, I highly recommend everyone checks out Inner Circle. You will find my stress ebook is going to be there soon. And I have a Take Control of Your Life stress course covering time, money, home, relationships, and health, along with workbooks for free in Inner Circle. In addition, you also get weekly group coaching. We have a book club. It's a really cool place to hang out. So check that out. I will put the link in the description, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.